वीडियो सर होस्ट ने बंद किया है।
Good morning, everyone. We are just waiting for Shri Suresh Prabhuji to join us. So good morning, everyone. We just wait for Suresh Prabhuji to join us. I hope I'm audible.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, Reena ji, we can hear you. But
Yes,
your
sir. Video, actually I'm clicking to on start video. It's showing you can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
not stopped. So I'm making your co-host. See if that helps you in any way.
Okay.
Are you able to do it now?
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that. Yes. Okay, I can see, sir. You can. Good morning, sir. कैसे हैं, sir?
फर्स्ट क्लास कितना आधा
So-
घंटा है ना, इसको तो इसको भी फेंकना नहीं बोलो। राजा,
हाँ जी सर।
मेरे को 12 बजे दूसरा प्रोग्राम है।
Sure, sir. We'll try to wrap up as soon as possible.
Or how do you want me to do it? I will speak for about 5-10 minutes so
Sure.
that people can ask questions.
Yes.
Because otherwise I can speak longer if you as you want.
So you आप 10 मिनट बात करें and then we have a chat window where people are asking questions. I also have
That
already
is better.
So just
Question say better. No, they will. I can just speak, but what they want to ask me, let them.
Absolutely, sir. So just a small, of course, you don't need any introduction, but so dear friend, we are really grateful to have with us Shri Suresh Prabhuji. Not only is he one of the most erudite parliamentarians, a chartered accountant by profession, and one of the more professional and educated ministers and parliamentarians that we have, but he has not only handled very critical portfolios like power, commerce, railways, civil aviation, but a lot of things that we are seeing, a lot of changes that we have happened to the various economic ministries have been initiated by him. And of course, right now he is performing a very critical role as the Prime Minister's Sherpa and representative to both the G7 as well as the G20. He doesn't need any introduction, but so thank you, sir, for sparing your time and coming and addressing all of us. So we have members from the fragrance and flavors fraternity, as well as the incense stick or the agarbatti fraternity here. Predominantly the MSME sector, and we would definitely want to hear your views on what the situation is around us today. Please, sir.
So I thank all of you, and particularly my dear friend Raja Kothari for facilitating this. And I'm sure when the world is struggling to find out peace, health, and hopefully prosperity, your industry will spread their fragrance and ensure that people will be able to live a much better life as we pass this very difficult phase in not just in yours and my life, but probably in the life of a humanity. At least none of us, our generation, has ever seen anything like this. And I hope the future generation will never be able to encounter a situation like this anytime. As we know, this is very unprecedented, therefore very challenging. Normally, the human beings, ever since they are born on the planet, their birth itself probably brought along with them some sort of health complications, either during the birth or before they finally pass away from this planet. They have faced some sort of health related issues all the time. But this is for the first time we are seeing that the solution, the cure, is something which we don't know, and I'm sure we'll know this very soon, but we really don't know as such. Therefore, the struggle is not so much to fight with health emergency, but more about fighting an unknown issue. And when you are actually in human life, you always seen that the biggest fear everybody has is the fear of unknown. If you know the problem, we can actually deal with this. Why people fear death? Because they don't know what happens after death. Those who are very evolved personalities spiritually, they never fear death because they know what happens after that, or they don't want to even think about it, whatever. So we are really passing a difficult phase. Now, in that context, I think we really need to understand economically the consequences of this coronavirus has put us very big challenge. And the biggest economies are in fact the worst sufferers. The US, the largest economy, $22, $23 trillion, almost quarter of the global GDP, has to put in first $2.2 trillion, and now another almost $400 billion they want to put into this economy. Unprecedented. Just imagine the US, which is already now 116% of public debt to GDP ratio, is putting in so much. The European Union, and by definition they are a union, is trying to find out how to fund this. Italy has very clearly said that it should be pan-European Union bonds we should raise. France has, of course, very strongly supported it. Germany is obviously not so much in favor of it. They are trying to find out a solution to this. But point is, in this year of time of crisis, all countries are suffering. Japan, very, very big challenge. Country like Singapore, small little city state, which has small population and very small geography to manage. It is like managing a city as, say, like Chandigarh or something like that. But we are still finding a problem. So we need to therefore understand the economic consequences of these are going to be severe, and we must therefore find a solution to this. I'm very happy that Prime Minister, when he addressed the nation for the first time dealing with this issue, he had said that he has set up a task force under the chairmanship of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman to come out with dealing with this economic aspect of it. And I'm sure as she announces it, we'll be able to get a respite from many of these issues because Prime Minister announced and Finance Minister task force has yet to let know the recommendation of all that. The biggest sufferer of this is going to be small scale industries, obviously, because by definition they are small. And I repeat again, which I had said some years ago in 2008, when all the world was trying to struggle to save the big banks. And therefore, it was said too big to fail. This was a formulation the US that time had come out with. So I had said in US itself that they are too big to fail, but there is another segment called small scale industries who are too small to survive. The failure is one part, but they are not able to survive. And therefore, 2008 situation also provides us a guidance that we must work on small scale industries in a manner that, because they are the largest producer of employment, they are the largest contributor to exports. If you aggregate all of that, they are the largest. They are also one of the key component of the economic system. So I think we should try to work on that. How to help small industries. In fact, Mr. Nitin Gadkari also that day talked about it, and I'm really happy that Prime Minister Modi and the Finance Minister will do that, and the Minister in charge of small scale industry, Nitin Gadkari, will work on it. But currently, I fully agree that we must work in a manner that we save this very important segment of India's economy, and not just one segment. They are the backbone of India's economy. Therefore, small scale industry needs all type of support, and I'm sure we'll be able to do that over a period of time. As I said at the beginning, and your chairman agrees with me, that rather than me only speaking to you, I would rather stop here so that I can hear you and also pass on your important suggestion to the right people. But also, in case I'm able to answer any question, though I don't deal with this subject directly, I was Minister of Commerce and Industry, but I will definitely be able to pass it on to the right people. So please ask me question, and I will really assure you that we'll work together as a partner. And as I said, your industry tries to spread the fragrance so that all the bad smell goes away. I think I'm sure in the years to come, we'll see more of good news to come. And I hope this is the beginning of that. Thank you very much.
So the first question we have is that it is said that, of course, we are aware of the current scenario, and the government is trying its best to mitigate it. And we are likely to hear several announcements. Some have been made and more are expected. But every threat is also an opportunity. So what do you think is the current scenario, and how it can emerge as an opportunity for the Indian industry, especially the MSME sector? How do we prepare for the future? What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very interesting question. And I think I'm glad that you are thinking in that positive way, because we always seen that every challenge can be converted into opportunity. It depends upon a mindset. And we in India, we believe in also planetary position. So I think we can, I'm not an astrologist, I don't know what a planetary position is, but just to draw a parallel, I think this could be a good planetary position could have been set for us. Why I'm saying this is, one, the whole world has realized that we need to relook into their own value chains and supply chains. Whole world. If you really look at it, Europe, which is and US, which are the worst sufferers, then incidentally European Union and US put together are probably more than 50% of the world GDP. So they are the ones who are already rethinking about it. The Korea, Japan, even some countries in ASEAN, they're also rethinking about it. In that context, it provides us a fantastic opportunity. Because if we are not rethinking about what your already business model is, there is no opportunity for us. But if the world is rethinking, there is an opening for us. That doesn't mean we should get it automatically. We have to work on it. Actually, even before this happened, we're already thinking about looking at India's economic profile. As you know, today's India's economy is like this. Almost more than 60 to 63% comes from services. About 16% comes from industry. And about 15 to 20%, depending upon how you calculate it, is agriculture and allied services. So that profile has to change to increase the share of industry into GDP. I was asked as a Commerce and Industry Minister, I was working on this vision of relooking into the economic profile of India, GDP profile. If you can increase India's GDP from 16% currently of industry to 20%, that would significantly help India to create jobs and also help other sectors. Like services cannot survive only standalone basis. They need a strong underlying sector which can actually help them to grow. And that is something which can happen through industry. Agriculture, when you are in Kolkata, your entire jute-based industry is basically related to agriculture. Or in Mumbai, where there was a big sector called textile, or in Ahmedabad, or in Punjab, they're all based on cotton at a particular time. Now we have become synthetic fiber, but that time man-made fiber was either cotton or even jute. And therefore, these are the industries which are related to agriculture. So if industry grows, this sector will also benefit. You take your own industry. It has something to do with land. The fragrances, we have to get it from some plant as extract. And therefore, they are grown in agriculture. So agriculture also benefits when the industry grows. So therefore, we have prepared a plan that how to make India's GDP grow from industry from 16% to 20%. That would mean that in $5 trillion economy, because I was putting in the context of that, 20%, that is $1 trillion, must come from industry. Now, how do you calculate that $1 trillion? Can I just say $1 trillion, 20%, why not 20%? That has no meaning. So I called all the leaders of the industry like you, who are actually manufacturing. So Pawan Goenka of Mahindra, Naushad Forbes, Jamshed Godrej, Tatas, the people who are actually manufacturing on hands-on basis. Again, not Anand Mahindra, because Pawan Goenka is the head of their automobile, which is the biggest segment of that business. So they prepared a plan as to which segment will come from it. We worked with CIA and actually released this plan. So in that context, we are already working on it. But today, with the disruption of supply lines, value chains, we can see an opening for India. So what you are asking me is a very, very valid point. What is the silver lining to the dark cloud? Is this probably this opening? And I was saying the planetary position because the whole world is already thinking about it. So we are thinking about before this corona happened, when under Modi ji, I was a Minister of Commerce and Industry, I was preparing it. I prepared it, released it to the people. I released a 5-year, $5 trillion plan, how it's going to happen. All the contours of that. 60% will come from services, 20% will come from industry, and another $1 trillion will come from agriculture, because agriculture is going to be very important. So export of agri products. Today we have $26 billion which save agriculture products. I prepared a first ever agriculture export policy, which can take it to $100 billion. So just imagine the advantage of all this. So you are absolutely right. There are many openings available to us. Another issue, and that is also part of the opening, is the world is going to be flushed with funds. All the sovereign wealth funds, all the pension funds, because the interest rates have become so low that people can borrow at very cheap rate. Where would that money get invested? So they can get invested into India. So we have a great opportunity from investment side, also from trade side, because the supply lines are getting opened, from industry side, because people will like to probably look at India as the next destination for manufacturing. So all of that will have opportunity also in agriculture side. Because as I said, we produce now more horticulture than agriculture. So this horticulture, agriculture, milk, meat, aquaculture, all put together, we can actually export a lot to the world. So I think they have played up opening.
Sir, thank you. There's another question. He says that earlier it was believed that the world is flat and we were looking at seamless movement of services and goods across boundaries. Do you think that with this, there is going to be a greater increase in protectionism and greater emphasis on local manufacturing, local production? Is this the end of globalization and liberalization as it was understood a few years back?
Another very, very good question. In fact, let me remind you, this is last 3 months maximum we are suffering from COVID globally. It's the beginning of the year almost, so 4 months. Before that, 2019, because it's happening in 2020, we are mainly suffering. 2019, 2018 have been the very difficult years for globalization. WTO, which can be said to be an icon of globalization, was under existential threat. Many countries were talking about protectionism. In fact, when Prime Minister Modi went to Davos in 2018, January, I was there. He made a fantastic speech. He was the chief guest. He made a very good speech as to why we need globalization, why we need to open up the borders so that people and countries will benefit. Because it's for us, for India, it's a time for us to reap benefit of it. When if the doors are closed, we had opened our doors, and now if the doors get closed for the global companies, for global markets, for India, so India's opened the door, and now the world is closing door, will be not beneficial to India. So this will happen. But while this is true, and local manufacturing will also become very important, I will tell you another interesting initiative which are taken. So, but first let me complete about what I feel about it. The trends were already visible. And when the situation gets difficult, people always try to blame somebody. So they'll blame globalization in some part of the world. But as things settle down, people will realize that it is not possible that we can live without each other. Very good example of that is Corona itself. Who will develop the vaccine? Somebody will develop the vaccine. Either India can develop, or US can develop, or Japan can develop. Somebody will develop. But who will use it? The global community will use it. Because anybody use it, is available somewhere, it will be beneficial to all. To make the vaccine, you need a lot of data. You need a lot of inputs. Where are you getting it from? In fact, Italy is trying to work on their own. They started working on it, finding out how China dealt with it. Now, US is trying to get data from Italy, from UK, from France. So ultimately, what are we doing? Is it not global partnership that we have to deal with a challenge? We have to need all the countries to collaborate with each other. So while there will be initial reaction, maybe like that, eventually people will realize that we cannot live in an isolated world anymore, because this is detrimental to our own interest. In fact, the countries which closed their borders have suffered more. Argentina, before the war, the Second World War, was one of the thriving economy. They closed their economy and they suffered so much that they had to actually finally become a very, very difficult case. Their peso is currency which is always in trouble. They are highly indebted. Despite the fact, of course, in Latin America, they are one of the, after Chile, their per capita income is high. But point will happen. So I think there is going to be a new look globalization. Globalization will happen, but in a new look form, in a different form. So globalization cannot be just be wished away, because the reason I told you, globalization is not just economy, but globalization is a lot of issues related with social life, health life, cultural life. So that will happen, but it will take a new shape. On local manufacturing, as you asked me, again, I will tell you something which we have already started working on. The Commerce Industry Minister, we have taken a project that if India's GDP has to grow, all districts of India can contribute to it. Because today, what is India's GDP? Or take, you are in West Bengal today. What is West Bengal GDP? It's the aggregation of all the district GDP is West Bengal GDP. Absolutely. What is the Maharashtra GDP? All aggregation of Maharashtra district. So all districts put together, maybe 729 or will be India's GDP. So we started working on a project, and as the Commerce Industry Minister launched it. We launched it in the Prime Minister's constituency first in Varanasi, in Maharashtra East, also rather North, on South Visakhapatnam, in East Muzaffarpur, in West Maharashtra, and one in Solan, in just to take a hilly district in Himachal Pradesh. Idea is we started studying an Indian Institute of Management a National Council for Applied Economic Research started studying it. Is what is that today's that GDP profile of that particular district, and how can I increase it by 3%? Just imagine, we need macro level ideas to make India's grow faster. Absolutely true for any country to grow. But even micro level, if you can push that from bottoms up, it can have a huge benefit. And it is so easy to change 3% for a district than changing 3-4% for a nationally. And we actually have made some very good progress on that. Actually, just imagine the benefit of that. Like take your industry. Now, if you're working, say, in Kerala somewhere, that the fragrance industry is working in a particular district, your main problem will be related to the district. The problem is nationally, but they start with the district. Because if I'm working in Kottayam district of Kerala, the problem of that Kottayam district, if it is not addressed, how can the industry survive? So in doing that, we are actually addressing problem where the problem starts. Number two, when the district will grow, incomes will grow in that district. So we don't have to then do afterthought. Like in 1991, when we opened up the economy, we said there is going to be a trickle-down effect. We don't have to wait for a trickle-down effect. Here the growth will happen in the district first. So we don't have to wait from Delhi trickling down into the district. It will in fact go from district to Delhi. So that will be a booster rather than trickle down. And therefore, this is an idea that we are working on. But the point you are asking is a very valid question. The globalization will assume a different frame, and we'll have to be ready for that.
That was a very interesting perspective, sir. Thank you. I mean, about how the new globalization and how new liberalization will be. One question, and there is a general feeling which, see, as I mentioned, a lot of agarbatti industries as well as the fragrance and flavor fraternity, they are involved in MSME activities. I mean, their scale is medium or small or micro. And it is heavily dependent on a lot of critical imports. There is a lot of talk about protectionism. There is a lot of talk about there is a possibility of a 15% COVID import tax. Of course, all this is speculation in the media. And of course, everybody wants to contribute to the nation and wants to make in India and help. But in the interim, and we have seen that even happening earlier in the agarbatti industry, that when an ad hoc decision is taken or something has been done without taking everyone into confidence, it disrupts the whole situation. So of course, we want that there should be make in India, but there's a lot of talk about increasing import duty and things like that. How do you view this, sir? And how can the MSME sector, which is heavily dependent on imports, protect itself or somehow help in overcoming these challenges?
I think you're right. We have to look at each industry, each segment of that industry as a standalone basis and study their issues, and must find out, ensure how they can be properly taken care of. So sometimes they can be taken care of by increasing import duty. Sometimes they can be taken care of by reducing import duty. So that will depend from time to time and depending upon the situation that prevails in case of that particular industry. So I think we cannot have one solution for all. We'll have to work on it properly and understand each segment of the industry carefully and then take this view. I'm sure about it. Now, in this particular case, what you're pointing out to me, I will definitely pass it on to the right people for them to also, I'll sensitize them about the challenges you're facing. If you want, you can send me a detailed note, all that also, which will help me to take it up.
Sure, sir, we'll do that. So, sir, I don't think we have too much of time. So, I think before we sign off, some crystal gazing, how do you see the future and what is your expectation about how, I mean, I know you don't have the answer to when this will end, but what is your perspective of the future in the next few months? People today even don't know whether we are really going to open on 3rd or not. So what do you feel is going to happen in the next few days, few weeks, few months, and how do you look at the future? Some guidance.
Actually, if you look at it, again, as I was saying, we are learning from each other, so we can take the other countries' examples. Some countries, like even Singapore, there was a challenge that they thought in the first phase they got over the problem, but then it resurfaced again. So now Singapore is thinking of really going in for a very strict kind of a lockdown. In fact, where this lockdown issue came up, it actually started when it started in Wuhan. The Chinese actually had started these lockdown issues very, very emphatically. When they did that, they actually succeeded in localizing the problem and not allowing it to proliferate all over the country. Of course, it proliferated the rest of the world because of the travel and goods movement, maybe many other reasons. I don't know how it must happen. But lockdown was thought to be a solution and which succeeded at least locally. So all the countries in the world are now resorting to it. In fact, those countries who did not do it adequately are suffering more. In fact, I really thank the Prime Minister and his visionary approach that he ensured that we stopped it at a very early stage. So even if you look at it, India is relatively not as badly affected as the rest of the world. So this will happen. Now, when it should be opened is a call. I think tomorrow Prime Minister is going to meet all the chief ministers. It has to be taken collectively. So they will be discussing it. I don't know the answer to that. But one thing is sure, and because it's an unknown virus that we are trying to deal with and a very unprecedented phenomena that we are dealing with. So either the health experts are also not sure how to deal with this. You must have seen that there are sometimes people saying I'm talking about United States, when they started, they were saying this was not a problem at all. And now then suddenly I realized it, how serious the problem has become. And therefore now even in US, there are 50 states. So when president announced that they want to open up, many state governors, and even the governors announced that he wants to open up, the local mayors are not willing to agree with that. So this is a very difficult time we are passing through. We are dealing with a very unforeseen and unimaginable situation. And now we are trying to work on collectively. WHO also is trying to work on that, and WHO is also collecting information. Where WHO will get the information? They are based in Geneva. They'll collect information from all over the world. They'll put it before their global expert that they have, or they will also consult our global experts outside WHO and come with some solution. So all of them together are thinking about it. India, thankfully, our fatality rate, mortality rate is very low, luckily. The people who are affected also very low as compared to the rest of the world. But we have to be very careful, cautious, and I'm sure the economic consequences will be higher when we go. So it's a trade-off that if you want to take care of health, then economy is one of the on the other side. If you want to take care of economy, probably health will be the one which will be really suffering. So I think we'll have to have a proper trade-off, and I'm very happy that Prime Minister Modi is really providing a leadership that is really needed and in a manner that one all should be proud of. So I'm sure we'll be able to get over this problem sooner than later. I only hope the best will happen. Today is Akshaya Tritiya. We celebrate it in all over the country as a festival, and it is supposed to be one of the best muhurat for any activity to be started. So I hope on the day of Akshaya Tritiya that we'll have a Akshay, never to stop, happy, good life for all of them. So let me wish you happy Akshaya Tritiya, and let me thank you once again for giving me this opportunity. As I said, the leadership matters. I am very happy that your association has a very dynamic leader, is Raja Kothari. If Raja is good, the Praja can be happy. So I think I really hope that we'll take care of it. All the best to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your guidance and your warm words. And we really hope that on this auspicious occasion of Akshaya Tritiya, this will be the Akshay of a new change. And all the guidance and the wisdom that you shared with us will be able to impart, and hope Indian industry will emerge stronger from this whole challenge. And we had a lot of other questions here. A request to everyone. Most of you know my email address, or you can send me an email at rck@ckc.in. For questions which have not been answered, we will send them in a combined form to sir. And sir, we will indulge you by sending you these questions, and we can
sure
have your answers.
I will be very happy to again have this conference sometime, and maybe in the better times, even physical form, I'll come and address your conference sometime.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you very much. All the best to you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Have a good day. So thank you, friends, for joining us this morning. I mean, we are aware that these are challenging times, and we are not able to meet in person in terms of workshops or meetings, but we will continue to endeavor to do more of such programs online. And again, if any of you have any suggestions or any ideas around the same, please feel free to send it to me or to the FI office or to any of the managing committee members. And we will try our best to help the industry, work with the industry and help the industry emerge stronger from this crisis. Thank you, and have a good day, everyone. Thank you very much.